FUT Rundown. We're here today to react to the England 33-man squad, the provisional squad, the training camp squad that was obviously revealed yesterday. Today I'm going to be giving my thoughts, my reaction to the team that's been selected before, of course, it gets cut down to that 26-man squad on the 7th of June, I'm pretty sure it'll be, exactly a week before the tournament kicks off, of course, over in Germany. Some surprising names have missed out on this 33-man squad list, which, as I say, will be chopped down into the final 26-man squad. But like I said, some big misses even from the 33-man squad. We're going to start by going over the 33-man squad, who's been picked. Obviously, then we'll start with the goalkeeping department, where, of course, we've got 4 goalkeepers that have been named. Dean Henderson, Jordan Pickford, Aaron Ramsdale, James Trafford. No sign of Nick Pope in there. As for defenders, we've got Jared Bramthwaite, Lewis Dunk, Joe Gomez, Mark Gay, Ezri Konsa, Harry Maguire, Jarrell Konsa, Luke Shaw as the only recognised left-back in the 33-man squad. John Stones, Kieran Trippier, Kyle Walker. Then, of course, over to the midfielders, where Trent Alexander-Arnold is seen to be counted as a midfielder, along with Conor Gallagher, Curtis Jones, Kobe Mainoo, Declan Rice, Adam Wharton. Before we then, of course, get to the attackers, where Jude Bellingham, who I consider to be a midfielder, has been counted as an attacker, of course, for his performances at Real Madrid this season. He's got Jared Bowen, Eberechi Eze, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, Anthony Gordon, Harry Kane, James Maddison, Cole Palmer, Bukayo Saka, Ivan Toney and Ollie Watkins. So, of course, the obvious players that have missed out then on that list is Marcus Rashford, of course, who hasn't been at it this season. Jordan Henderson, who has had a disaster since leaving Liverpool last summer, obviously his time at El Ettifaq, and of course then moving to Ajax in January. It hasn't worked out from there either. Then, of course, you've got the likes of Levi Colwill, who's missed out, Ben Chilwell, Raheem Sterling, Reece James. Obviously, some big omissions in my opinion, but I think we're right to leave those players out, particularly someone like Marcus Rashford and Raheem Sterling, who Raheem Sterling has performed well for England in the past, but he's not been at it over the last few seasons, and ultimately he's been pushed out by younger players coming in who are more deserving of their place in the squad. Marcus Rashford, of course, if we're talking a year ago where he'd scored 30 goals for Manchester United, I think the first time a striker had scored 30 goals for Manchester United since Dimitar Berbatov had done it for United as well some time ago. So if we're talking a year ago, Marcus Rashford would be absolutely 100%, 100% would be in this squad. But his performance haven't been up to standard, and therefore, like with Raheem Sterling, younger players have come in and are more deserving of a place. The same goes for Jordan Henderson as well. Whilst he does seem to be one of Gareth Southgate's favourites in that position, the holding midfield position, there's other players that that can play there. And for me, his performances this season, from what I've read, because I've not seen, he doesn't seem like he's had the best 12 months of his career, and therefore, of course, he's been moved out, which I think is the right decision as well. Obviously, we talked Reece James, got a lot of competition at right back. He's not cutting it. I think he's been injured quite a bit this season as well. And then, of course, you've got Levi Colwill, who can also play left back, but is also centre back. Again, a lot of competition at centre back, but possibly could have seen his way in, given the fact that Luke Shaw's the only recognised left back, and the fact that Luke Shaw's been out injured for quite some time as well. So if I was Levi Colwill, I might feel a little bit gutted to miss out on that 33-man squad. Of course, some other names that have missed out as well is Jadon Sancho, of course, finds himself in a Champions League final on loan at Borussia Dortmund over the next few weeks as well, and also Mikel Elise, who I think I'm surprised to see hasn't been involved in this 33-man squad. The season he's had for Crystal Palace, I'm surprised that Eze's got a spot over Elise, to be honest. I mean, just when we look at the squad that's been picked, obviously we expect James Trafford's going to drop out as that 4th choice goalkeeper once the 26-man squad's named. So we are probably going to be going into the tournament with Dean Henderson, with Jordan Pickford, with Aaron Ramsdale. I'm a little bit gutted Nick Pope's obviously been missed out. I don't know if he's injured or I think he was coming back from injury. I obviously don't feel he's right to be selected, which I think is a shame, because I think he's a very decent goalkeeper, to be honest. In terms of the defence, you're looking at it here. You've seen, Jarrell Konsa. I don't think he's been part of the England squad before. I certainly won't be looking at him for that 26-man squad. I think he's been okay for Liverpool, but I certainly think there's better options in terms of players missing out. Obviously, we're looking at someone like Lewis Dunk may well possibly miss out as well. Obviously, Jared Bramthwaite has had a very good season, almost a breakout season at Everton. I'd be surprised if he misses out. The same with John Stones, who of course has been injured of late, but you'd expect he'd be one of the first names on that team sheet for England. Harry Maguire, of course, gets himself back in. He's currently injured, but I'm sure he'll be back fit for then. And obviously, if he's leaving out people like Henderson, who he does rely on and does trust in the dressing room and does have that experience, you don't want to leave out all that experience. And Harry Maguire's definitely in there for that experience and that understanding of how Gareth Southgate wants to play. I think, to be fair, as England fans, there was a point maybe 12 months ago when I think we're a little bit sick and tired of seeing Maguire continue to be selected, even though he wasn't playing for United. But to be fair, coming to United at times this season, he's performed fairly well. So I think we've kind of got used to the fact that it's inevitably part of these squads. Joe Gomez as well, decent option, I suppose. Mark Gay's had a decent season at Crystal Palace. Luke Shaw would be the one worry for me at left back. We seem to have good options at right back. Obviously, Trent can play there as well. Alexander-Arnold, Kyle Walker can obviously play there. Trippier can play there. But for me, the worry is left back because Luke Shaw's currently injured. We don't even know if he's going to make the FA Cup final on Saturday at this point. So he's not played since February. So it is a concern at left back. It's such a concern that there's such a gap in quality between Luke Shaw and anyone else that can play left back for England. That's got to be a worry, and that's got to be something that I think has got to try and be addressed after this tournament, to be honest. As we take a look at the midfield list, now obviously the way in which England have given out this list, it does look very short in the midfield because obviously they've counted Trent as a midfielder, but I think they've missed out Bellingham as a midfielder who counts as an attacker for some reason. James Maddison, the same I consider to be a midfielder. Phil Foden, you could argue, is a midfielder. So we've probably got more options in midfield than it looks like when you look at this list. But when you look at this list and you remind yourself it's a 33-man squad, not the finished article, not the finished 26-man squad. Some of those players aren't going to make it into that 26-man squad. And I'm looking at names like Curtis Jones and Adam Wharton, for example. I do think Trent will go to the Euros. I do think Conor Gallagher will go to the Euros. I think Kobe Mainoo will go to the Euros. And, of course, Declan Rice will be one of the first names on the team sheet at the Euros, bar any injuries. So I think you're looking at someone like Wharton who will most likely drop out. Curtis Jones the same. Then it's about Bellingham. Rather than having him as an attacking option, we've got to be seeing him as a midfielder because otherwise we're far too lightweight in midfield. We obviously just mentioned the attackers and how some of the attackers list are actually midfielders. But when you do look at that attacking list, you've got players like Jared Bowen in there, Eze, Grealish, Anthony Gordon. Obviously Harry Kane. He's had a phenomenal season at Bayern Munich. I know people joke he hasn't managed to win anything, but individually he's been brilliant. James Maddison, what a signing he's been for Spurs. Looking forward to seeing what part he can play because he's not always been one of Gareth Southgate's favourite players. He seems to have quite a reluctance to pick him for some time. Did he get in the World Cup squad a few years ago? In the end, I'm not too sure. He certainly didn't get the minutes that I felt he deserved. Cole Palmer obviously has been a sensation at Chelsea this season. Saka was obviously as always unbelievable. Ivan Toney I think will miss out, to be honest, from the full 26-man squad. But obviously he's been all right since he's came back in January for Brentford. Ollie Watkins, of course, had a brilliant season with Aston Villa. I expect he'll be picked over Ivan Toney. So we do have a lot of attacking talent. I'm not going to talk too much about players that I think will miss out because I'll save that one for another video. But yeah, when I look at this squad, how excited am I going into Euros with this? I'm not too sure. Obviously, on paper, some of the players we've got: Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham in midfield, Harry Kane, Phil Foden, the form he's been in this season. You've got some confidence that we'll be able to go far in the tournament with those players, but it's about the rest of the players not letting us down and basically building the team around 3 or 4 players. I mean, if I'm going into Euros and looking at that England squad, I am looking at someone like Phil Foden, who for me has got an opportunity to be possibly England's best player, greatest player in this tournament, certainly the most important. Then you've got Bellingham as well, who's could be equally as important given the quality he's got. So we've got so many good players in this squad with Declan Rice as well. Again, been brilliant for Arsenal this season. We do have sprinkles of absolute, fantastic world-class talent, and it's what we do with the other players, getting the best out of those players that we just mentioned as well, making sure they play in the correct positions. Because if we don't get the best out of them players, I don't think we're going to go as far as I think people are hoping. So just before we wrap this up, I'm just going to sort of give a little bit of an overview, I suppose, on the each department. Goalkeeping, I think we're fairly sound. Henderson's not the worst goalkeeper. We obviously know Pickford. There's question marks there, but he is England's number one and has been for some time. Ramsdale, you'd expect to make the cut as well. He's been okay. Obviously been pushed out by Raya this season at Arsenal, but I think he's still got the ability to do a job if called upon. But realistically, how often do you see international teams messing about with keepers during major tournaments? It doesn't really happen too much. Jordan Pickford will be number one, and we've got some decent backups, just in case we do need it. In terms of defenders, fairly confident in terms of Kyle Walker. I think will be important for us. If Luke Shaw's fit enough to play, he'll probably be one of the best left backs in the tournament, to be honest. Braithwaite's been decent. You've got John Stones, you've got Harry Maguire, Ezri Konsa as well. We've not mentioned him yet. Had a brilliant season again at Aston Villa, so we should be okay defensively. Not one of the best teams, but certainly not one of the worst teams defensively. In the midfield, you've obviously got Jude Bellingham, Declan Rice, like we spoke about. Kobe Mainoo will probably make the squad as well. He's obviously been a sensation for United this season in what's been a disappointing season. He's been a breath of fresh air. Then obviously you've got other players as well. Gallagher's not had the best of seasons at Chelsea in terms of Chelsea haven't done what I think they would have wanted to this season, but again, still has the ability to put in good performances. If Trent plays as a midfielder, he's got quality. As a footballer, technically, he's absolutely brilliant. Defensively, I'm not too sure, but again, he's still a good player, so I'm sure we can try and put him somewhere in the team if we need him. I'm sure we'll get some positive performances out of him, particularly in the early games. The group stages might be a good time to sort of get an idea of where we want to play him going forward as the tournament grows on. Attacking going forward, like I say, I think we'll see. Well, this is certainly going to have to be the part of the team where we're going to have to be more ruthless in kicking players out for the 26-man squad, because Eze, for me, I'm sure he'll have a run out, but I don't think he'll make the final squad. Jared Bowen, it's a bit more 50-50 for me. I'm not too sure if he'd get in the squad for me personally. If we're looking at someone who can play on the right hand side, you don't really want more than 2 players that can play right wing, and for me, I count Foden as a right winger and I count Bukayo Saka as a right winger. So that is Jared Bowen's position. For me, he would probably miss out. Then, of course, you've got names like Jack Grealish. Where do people stand with him? Would you have him in the squad? I'm not too sure. I think the one weakness we might have, we're talking about left back being a weakness, obviously defensively. I think the left wing could be a little bit of a weakness for us as well, and that might be where Jack Grealish gets into this side. Obviously, you've got Harry Kane. You'd expect him to be the number one man down the middle for England. Obviously, the goals he can score, the moments he can create. Obviously, he was a little bit unfortunate, not to make the most of it for England in the last major tournament against France, where, of course, he did miss that penalty, and he also did miss 1 or 2 sitters as well in that game, but I'm sure he's put that all behind him. And he's been playing in the perfect place this season to prepare himself for this tournament. Obviously, moving to Germany last year, I'm sure he's got comfortable with playing in Germany now, and that can only be a positive for England as we approach this, obviously, this Euros in Germany. James Maddison, Cole Palmer, Bukayo Saka, Ollie Watkins, and of course Ivan Toney as well. Like I say, I think Ivan Toney will miss out, so I think you've got Watkins, Saka, Cole Palmer, James Maddison. The only worry I've got is how we're going to fit all these brilliant attacking players in. I'm not too sure. And one thing Southgate is going to have to do, he's going to have to make tough decisions, and he's going to have to try and leave out some quality players on the bench, because if we try and shoehorn all these players in, it'll be to the detriment of the team, and I think that's where we could find ourselves struggling in this tournament. Fairly happy with the team that England have picked. There's not really too much I'd really argue with. I think he's right to leave out Marcus Rashford. I think he's right to move to leave out Raheem Sterling and the likes and the other players. Ben Chilwell, I'm not too sure. Given how weak we are at left back, I could have seen Colwell or Chilwell probably be picked as well, just because Shaw's still injured. But overall, not too many complaints. As I say, this is still going to be cut down to a 26-man squad. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think of this England squad going into, of course, a major tournament where we are hoping to win 4th time lucky under Gareth Southgate? So like I've just said, don't forget to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know if you've enjoyed me talking about England, and if you want to see me talk about England going forward on this channel as well, as we head into the Euros over the next month. Don't forget to like the video as well. Of course, subscribe if you are new. And as always, thanks for watching.